so now I can't swear too much. But like, I figured if the round table, if we go through this and we have time, we can plug into another. But that's what we've got. And then a reminder: Tyler is recording these. We're going to put them on a YouTube channel. We'll follow up with a grid, but any other thoughts for organization? Tyler's our guy. So please do not reach out to me. Reach out to Tyler. He's our guy for all things structural. But I think we're 5 minutes past the hour. Do you want to kick it off, Nate? We'll just dive into the who you are, current practice theme.
Yeah, so my name's Nate Moody. I'm a retirement plan advisor and partner at a firm called LaBelle and Harriman. We're a financial services firm based up in Portland, Maine. We kind of have two main teams, one that we call Employer Financial Services, which is where we provide retirement plans, but also help manage endowments, foundations. We do a lot of corporate-owned life insurance, both for purposes of sort of non-qualified deferred comp, but also for key person insurance, buy-sell funding. And then we have our personal financial services team, which I think most people are familiar with, basically our wealth team. We make rich people slightly more rich and charge a lot of money to do it. That's not usually our sales pitch, by the way. But so those are the two teams. We've been around since 1978. We're definitely probably heavy on the corporate side and we're trying to build up our personal side. I think on our corporate side, we have close to 5 billion in assets specific to our retirement plans, which represents closing in on like 250 corporate retirement plans. We have 3.5 advisors, I'll call it. One of which is myself. I manage a book of around 75, 80 plans, which I'm desperately trying to shrink and focus a little bit more on sort of the mid to large market. And our wealth side has like 400 million in assets, not very big. We're trying to build that out as well. Where are we seeing success? I would say like 98% of my opportunities come from referrals, mostly from COIs that probably most folks here rely on. So, probably where I see the most traction is actually payroll providers and benefits brokers. Beyond that, certainly CPAs, we get some, and then we get some from ERISA attorneys as well. I think I've gone like one referral ever from a record keeper. And TPAs.
Which record keeper was that gave you the referral? Was it like an orphan plan, like ADP paychecks or something else?
So ADP wants to refer business. We are a little bit apprehensive to want to take on a lot of their business just for I can get into that another time. But Fidelity, ironically, is actually the only record-keeping partner we've ever gotten referrals from, which again, Fidelity is obviously usually known for trying to cut out advisors as opposed to partners. So they've been actually a really, really good referral partner for us for a long time.
Interesting.
And then what challenges are we facing? I would say scaling and trying to become more efficient. We are sort of successful despite ourselves, I'd say. We, for a long time, operated exclusively as 321s, and we had the bright idea of doing a custom 321 lineup for every single one of our plans. So now we basically have 200 clients on 200 different investment lineups. So we're monitoring like 4,000 mutual funds, which is fantastic. Our analysts love us. So trying to get more efficient and use 338 more, and then just trying to build out a lot of the plumbing and infrastructure for us to be able to manage a larger client size and increasingly demanding clients as well. Yeah.
That's awesome. I had another question with the benefits broker side. With a lot of our advisors in the age of like the new aggregator, which is, insurance shops buying up retirement advisors and then realigning those referral sources. Have you seen any effect there with your COI?
Yes. We've definitely had to get somewhat creative with being flexible around sort of who we work with as we see more and more of our benefits partners get acquired by shops that provide retirement services. So we had a really, really good strategic partnership with a local benefits and insurance that just got bought by MMA. All the referrals are going to MMA now. We had another one bought by Hub. All those referrals are going to Hub now. But what it does do, in my experience, is that it creates a stronger connection with the few remaining independent benefits and insurance shops, particularly where we don't do anything in the benefits or group insurance space. So we've just kind of had to continue to kind of move on to new partners. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested too, because we've seen a number of firms get acquired and, you know, they disappear from our world. But it depends on region. Like it seems like these benefit shops have really old, multi-decade like relationships. So I wonder if they'd even come back to you. Maybe we'll learn about this in a different meeting because like, you know, they get sucked in, get given new marching orders, but it's hard to fight like in a relationship sold world. But that's interesting to hear. And yeah, MMA One Digital Hub, and then World Bank less so. But those seem to be the three. Okay, thank you. And I'm happy to go next unless someone has another question for Nate for our roundtable or like our cycle.
Yeah, Nate, what are you, so you mentioned that you're trying to shrink your plan size into the more mid to larger market. What's that defined for you? North of like 10 million, 20 million, everything?
Yeah, it depends on the day. We sort of have a unique book. I guess probably every advisor says that, but we literally have like simple IRAs all the way up to $1 billion clients. So it's a pretty wide spectrum. I mean, Maine's such a small market that it's tough to start to kind of make it even smaller than it already is. But if I thought about what my sweet spot is in terms of where I can add the most value and where my clients tend to be the most profitable relationships, it's usually like the 5 to 50, $100 million space. Seems like, particularly like professional services, healthcare, that would be, if I had my druthers, would be my sort of all I'd focus on. But that's it's tough to pick and choose just that market. There's only so many up here in Maine.
Just those few and like a shit ton of bears. Any other questions for Nate? And things can always percolate up. This is open forum. So I'm probably one of the weirdest people you'll meet in the retirement industry. I do a lot of different things, but my name is Bill Chetney. I've been in the industry for, I don't know, 15 years or more. I started out interning at LPL on the retirement desk there. I mean, I was a bank teller at Bank of America before that. Then after that, I went to a few money managers. I did a Kansas City, American Century, and then I did Putnam, DCIO up in Boston. And then I went to an aggregator that has roots back to 2001 called GRP. GRP got bought by Hub, and I'm very in tune to the disruption happening right now by insurance agencies. And to define Viking Cove, which Tyler and I both work for, you know, we are an agnostic entity. So we have like NFP, we've got some One Digital advisors, some Hub advisors. But traditionally, we've always played in the independent retirement advisor space. So we host 3 conferences a year. We're big supporters of the ARA and NAPA and we basically foster best practices. And then the way we make money is we invest in like tools and technologies, and we try to bring that out to different manufacturers and advisors. So like one example I'll give is with financial wellness. We partnered with Financial Finesse, and that's been a huge success for us, writing that distribution deal with a wellness company that excels. And I think I have a lot of opinions, and I can always talk about financial wellness. It is a very interesting topic. You know, I would just think about market segments with wellness. You know, Financial Finesse, for example, and here I go on my tangent, but like, and then I'll move on. Financial Finesse is a Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 servicer. NFL's Players Association, Nestle, Aetna, General Mills, right? They do really big plans and they do it really, really well. And we tried to make a solution that goes all the way down to 250 heads or less. But I'll be honest, guys, it's so much easier just to go to Fidelity's wellness solution and plug these folks into it. Because more often than not, that's all they want is just to check the box on wellness. So I would love to do Tyler, maybe we could make a note on financial wellness because we've got a ton of data on that. And I'm happy to be more than honest about it. Because I've felt a lot of pain trying to sell and then unwind in the small marketplace with wellness. But we've also seen a ton of success with large plans, right? That are more, caring and fostering of their community, right? Like Meta was a big client we had, and they rocked. But if you go down to a mom and pop, they question why you're doing business with them every single meeting. And it's like, okay, let's just cut our losses here. But anyway, so like that's Viking Cove, we explore with other stuff. And yeah, think of it as a Napa that sells stuff to you, mostly geared towards independence. And then on the other side, I work for a firm known as New Era, and that's a platform that houses, it's basically a broker-dealer RIA where we work with a number of advisors who either, came to us because of pain they felt, at an aggregator, right? Like I said, different regions have different success, right? Like some are less forthcoming. And so we do all of that. We're just basically a super OSJ for those folks as well. So that's me. Like I said, it's kind of hard to pin down what I do, even for myself. But if there's any questions, happy to answer. But I would like to do a wellness and hear what you guys are hearing in the marketplace there. Oh, and then in terms of new business, that didn't mean for it to turn into a pitch with Steven on that Bidmoney Tech. But what we've been doing to win new business is we go to banks and CPAs. Typically, they have a younger, greener advisor, and then we plug them in with, we do a split basically. So we come in, we give them the technology for free, and then we do a split with that greener folks, or we do a promoter agreement with the CPA. And we just say, yeah, we'll do 70-30 to us. We'll help you close any business. We'll handle everything and basically help you scale it up and like accommodate retirement business. So that's something we've been doing with banks and CPAs. Benefits brokers are a lot harder to tap into, especially with what all the things that I've talked about. But there's still some opportunity with the smaller independents out there. And I'm super fascinated to see what the Consolidated Appropriations Act will do to the marketplace when we see some commoditization happen, just like the old 408B2. But yeah, that's me, and I'll hand it off to. I'm going to hand the talking stick over to Mason.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's a good explanation, because I didn't know exactly what Viking Cove was, and I kind of just popped on your website too at the same time and didn't realize all of that information. So that was good. Background for me, I got into the industry in 2017. My father owned his own insurance and financial services business, and when those new fiduciary laws that were coming out in 2016 that didn't actually pass then, he didn't want to get his hands into it because his financial book was smaller than his insurance book. So we actually sold it to a local IRA, and I was just a part of that book. So I got to inherit a small little book to kind of get my feet wet. From there, I started growing my own book of business. And then in 2022, we were sold to Hub International. So totally understand how that disruption affected all of us. We all quit. Right. So one by one, the owner was the first one. He left a lot of money on the table just to leave. And then, I was actually the last one to stay, only because I started inheriting everybody's books that were leaving. I accumulated this huge book of business, and I was like, what do I do with it? I can't just, drop all these clients that we basically had since Cornerstone, when we first joined, it was started in 2012, I think it was. So we had a good book of business. We were managing about 500 million, small obviously, but all of a sudden I was managing 250 million, biggest book I've ever had. So I didn't know what to do. Luckily enough, I ran into the co-founder of Cornerstone, not the same one, obviously the one that sold was doing something else, but the other guy joined Fermata Advisors, which is where I'm a part of now. Big wealth management shop out of Sonoma, California. They got about $1 billion in assets. Literally, I think 100 million is in 401k. But they were trying to separate the 401k business from the wealth management business, and they were going to start Fermata 401k. And they're like, you should join us and help us implement Fermata 401k. So that's what I did. I'm heading up Fermata 401k underneath the arm of Fermata Advisors. We have Sonoma Wealth Advisors. We have Rich Financial. So it's a big wealth management shop that they're trying to get their feet wet in the 401k world. So I'm trying to help them implement all of that and all the strategies and efficiencies and what works and what doesn't. So that's been a good, fun challenge while also bringing a book over. So I kind of, head that up. I'm obviously a consultant. So I right now, my book's right at 100 million. I have well over 250 clients. So my biggest lead is I work with a Paychex representative. I actually work with about 7 of them. And on average, I'm receiving about 28 plans a month. So about every day I get a notification, I get added to a plan. Every day I get one plan basically. And all I need to do is make contact with them, tell them who I am, and then maybe do an employee education meeting, and that's it. Which sounds like, a lot of plans. In my head, I think of these as not little bonuses, but they've given me $2 million in the last 6 months. So $10,000, I stay in revenue at 50 basis points for very little time. And then I kind of put my efforts into working with other COIs that bring in the larger plans. So I'm perfectly fine with taking startups, perfectly fine with taking anything, whether it's simple IRAs or no money at all, transfers, whatever it is. I tend to, like how Nate was saying, I limit what I will bring in. I probably won't go over 50 million. After that, I think the income is, or the liability, right, in itself with that amount of money, especially because we act as 330. I'm 338 on everything. I use RPAG. I use a lot of their CITs.
Do you use the same lineup as 338?
No, I try to as much as I can, but not all the time. No, I will utilize a majority of RPAG's collective investment trusts as much as I can. But if I run into a client where a platform doesn't allow it, or I wouldn't do that on my Paychex plans, right? And with those, I'm just a consultant on those. I'm not 321 or 338, because they'll use a Mesero lineup or something along those lines. Or if they're in their pooled employer plan, I have no control. Neither does the client itself. But everything else outside of Paychex and a few providers, I'm 338 on. But yeah, we're really in kind of getting that structural part of Fermata 401k down, getting growth mode. We're going to probably be we're looking at buying books, right? We're looking at adding advisors. We're looking at expanding the service roles. So I would love to hear how, you guys have probably expanded from this small shop to multi advisors, multi support staff, to see how, efficient it was, and at what asset level, what income it was that you were able to bring that next person on. But really where I'm seeing success is, Nate said, the COIs of Paychex. I will do a couple ADP plans here and there. I do work with a lot of local insurance people. My father was in the industry, so I know a lot of people local that will want to refer some plans over. But I'm the one that brought up the topics of committees and employee meetings, only because I do so many, and I got some that meet quarterly. I got some that meet semi-annually. I'm running out of ideas. I know there's all kinds of stuff coming out, like Secure Act 2.0, the new fiduciary law. But after a while, I'm like, okay, what do we talk about, right? We talked about fees. We talked about the new laws and regulations. We talked about the investments. I want to see what you guys are bringing to the table that might be, prudent for the client. And then, outside of employee education, of regular plan design, I know we talked about financial wellness, but what else is it keeping them engaged? Because I feel like once I kind of go outside the normal plan design, I almost lose interest. So just trying to figure out what works best in terms of what you like the committees to see, and then what works on the employee education as well.
Tyler, could we please capture that too? Maybe we could expand on that more deeply on later, because I think that's a big important topic. I think I heard someone trying to chime in on that. No? Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. Like, it's, for me, I try to strip everything down as much as possible. So I'm with you. It's like, what's your net tax benefit, right? Especially for smaller plans. And you said you're comfortable with startups.
Yeah.
That's our philosophy here. We just go, hey man, this is what it's going to do for your bottom line, right? You strip down service, you go a la carte if they want more, and you can, command a fee for service. And that's that. But just like with financial wellness, as you migrate up to your cap of 50 million, that's where new conversations can come in. Financial wellness obviously is very trendy. You can talk about fees, funds, fiduciary, right?
Yeah.
Plan design. This is a food for thought for some of you, is when you do your plan review, reassessing plan design, if you're not already doing that, finding a new way to increase deductions. Maybe it's a little more cumbersome, but if there's a way to do that scalably, that's something we've been doing, and it's well received, as a service. The only other thing that comes to mind, I mean, are two things: student debt, right? Debt match, you do an amendment, do your student debt, come out with some stats and figures. And then the other thing is, I've said it before, Consolidated Appropriations Act, under 408B2, and I think it's like 408B2 now, is like, now we under ERISA have a fiduciary obligation to ask, about that transparency, which is brought to your benefit side. And that is to be tread very, very lightly. There's one advisor who said a quote that got stuck in my head: great way to get fired from the retirement plan is to ask them about their benefits. Stay in your lane, right? But right now there's a very unique moment to where you go, listen, as a fiduciary under ERISA, like, I do want to broach this topic with you. And it's a very, very new thing, but it is something that is very appropriate to bring up. So that's something that we've been diving into, and we can always dig deeper. I can let you guys know, because we're doing due diligence with a few tools on this and a few specialists on this. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, Mason, the other thing you do if you're not doing it yet is RPAG does have the fiduciary diagnostic and training modules that you can add in your meeting. So every meeting will go through like one or two different topics just to say, hey, we did our education, you guys are up to speed on 404A, 404C, etc., and just kind of make sure that they know what's going on.
Yeah, I'll throw those in. Like, I'll try to only do it once a year. I'll do one topic, and then I'll match it up with, like, if I'm doing a benchmark, we'll look, obviously looking at plan fees, we'll kind of match it up with what else I'm doing with them. So, luckily RPAG has a lot of material that you can kind of present. I just, with some clients, we've been with them for 10 years, right? It's like, okay, what do we talk about next? They've seen this before.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is I'm fortunate in where, like, I'm part of a larger team, so this isn't necessarily work like I did by myself. But the topic that we did this quarter for all of our clients is we went through their SOC 1 and SOC 2 report summaries. So we created a summary based on those reports. Now, that's a lot of work. And for the most part, it's only applicable to plans that are audited. But at the end of the day, it's proving to the companies that we work with that we're doing extra due diligence on their record keeper, regardless of the size of the organization. Because at the end of the day, if you do a summary on Fidelity plans, that same information is going to be applied to a $200 million plan as it would a $5 million plan, right? It's still a review on Fidelity's organization controls. Now, with all that said, I didn't do this myself, but that's like one of the things that we're doing with our clients on an annual basis as we're leading up to the audit time. That gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're doing about it.
Sure. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
I can go next because I got to jump off in a little bit. My name's Sam Balke. I am Michigan-based, Grand Rapids, West Side. I also am an RPAG advisor, kind of similar to Mason and Nate. So you're going to get the RPAG spiel to start off the day. But we're a part of a larger independent insurance agency, both on the benefits and P&C side. So we've got about 175 or so employees. And only 3 on the wealth 401k side. So I was employee number 2 about 5 years ago, started off as an intern out of college. So I've been in the business for almost 5 years now. And then we just brought on another gentleman that's kind of to service our clients from an employee education standpoint, as well as kind of drive out that wealth side of things. So currently we're at about 100 plans and 400 million. So our sweet spot is kind of the 10 to, or I mean the 2 to 20 space. That's kind of where we play in for the most part, but kind of similar to Nate and others. Obviously we're not shying away from startups. Obviously that's kind of where everything is heading for the most part. It's kind of an obligation. We've kind of tried to make that a little bit more scalable we've talked about this in a couple of the other meetings by charging higher fees there from an invoice standpoint because of the tax credits. So it makes it a little bit more revenue generating. So we're not really shying away from those opportunities anymore. Centers of influence, kind of similar to what others have been talking about. We're fortunate, obviously, having a benefits agency or benefits brokers and P&C brokers a part of our agency. So it helps to refer in someone in-house from that standpoint. So that's been a very good, obviously, revenue driving generator for us in at bats. But I'd say that's probably our biggest hurdle is how to drive new business that isn't a part of the agency, whether it's on either side of those, from cold calling or relationships with record keepers, knowing who's going out to bid, kind of just trying to keep our ear to the ground. That's kind of where we go from that standpoint. But just trying to get someone that's able, or I mean, willing to kind of do the due diligence from a standpoint, because we all take over plans that are just atrocious, but it's just getting that first meeting, obviously, is the biggest hurdle. New strategy that we've been kind of using a little bit more. This is for more or less sales 101. But one thing that I would recommend is following up on missed opportunities or ones that you ended up losing on, that they chose somebody else, following up 6 months later, just checking in on where they are at in the sales process or how the other advisor is on following up on what they were promised. We've picked off 2 in the past 6 months just using that. So we're all getting opportunities. So just make sure and you're following up. That would be my 2 cents on something that's working for us.
I can go next. My name is Patrick McKay. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana. Just quick background on me. I used to work, I did the first like 8-9 years of my career at what is now Osaic. If you know Osaic, the large independent broker dealer. Before that, it was called Advisor Group. Before that, Advisor Group bought a firm called Ladenburg. So I was actually a Ladenburg employee for a long time, a home office employee. And like a lot of those broker dealers, they knew absolutely nothing about retirement plan business and what their advisors were doing with retirement plans. So as part of this big effort there to kind of consolidate data and get their advisors to have more resources and better resources for their 401k business. So as part of that team, we actually onboarded RPAG to that whole group. I've obviously since left, about 4 or 5 years gone now, and became a retirement plan advisor. And so I am with an independent RIA called Stokes Family Office in New Orleans. It sounds like we're fairly opposite to what Nate is in terms of our breakdown of wealth to retirement. So we've got, I think, over $2 billion in personal wealth business. We kind of market ourselves as a family office, so we're, you know, very high net worth individuals and families and estates. And so on the retirement side, we've got about 60 plans with coming up on half a billion dollars in assets, and with a couple more pretty large ones onboarding. And so we've had success, honestly, with record keeper referrals. It sounds like some folks haven't. If you think about, I think the record keepers that will refer business or that really have opportunities to refer business, for me, it's been Vanguard and Fidelity. Because if you like, and I guess the payroll providers to an extent too, but I mean, if you think about what providers are going to get incoming traffic or incoming calls from prospective plans, it's not going to be Vestwell or you know, even the insurance companies. From my standpoint, it's going to be individuals who work at businesses who have a Fidelity account or a Vanguard account, or just kind of fans of those brands. And so within those two firms specifically, I think have done a good job of developing relationships with the salespeople there, and then also even relationship managers within those firms who kind of have a really good beat on the territory, or who cover companies in this area. And then we've also got a great referral COI relationship with an independent CPA firm here locally that we refer business back and forth with. I am also an RPAG advisor. We utilize, I think, most all of their major, you know, offerings. I think it's been good. I am starting to get, and I'm part of the problem because I mentioned the Osaic background. I'm starting to get the impression, maybe this is a whole nother topic with all the RPAG people in here, but it's almost getting too big to me. And there's so many advisors that are offering that group. And I'll just tell a quick story. So I had we're in the middle of a great opportunity right now. It's about a $40 million plan. And we had our big finals presentation on Monday of last week. And as I was walking into the meeting, we saw our competition walking out. And I just happened to know him from RPAG conferences, and it just made me nervous that I'm going in here second with probably some of the same like screenshots and you know, reporting that they did. And so just a thought there. I think I'm interested to hear how you have to obviously put your own spin on presentations and things like that. But I'm interested to hear from the group kind of your thought on the consolidation of technology systems, basically, and how that basically can become duplicative to what other advisors are doing.
I wouldn't shy too much away from that, Patrick. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so many software platforms that we can use and use for reporting. So you have to assume that majority of the advisors in the industry are using some sort of version of what you're doing, just like the CIT discussion. They're all going to have CITs in their back pocket that they can talk about. So it's no longer, hey, we can reduce your fees, your investment expenses, because we can throw in these CITs and things like that. At the end of the day, what you guys have to realize is these people are hiring you for you and the personality that you bring and the trust that you form with those folks. So, you know, what you have to do is go in there and don't just present to you, hey, I've got this great PowerPoint put together. Go in there, ask them what they need, and have them tell you what they need. And then from there, that's how I do a lot of my selling is I go in there, I've got a presentation in my back pocket. So if they want to look at certain slides, we can do that. But at the end of the day, I want to hear what is their problem and how can I be a solution? If I'm not a solution, I'll tell them, hey, here's the deal. I'm probably not going to be your best advisor. You might be better off going to this person. And just being honest about it. So that's what I'd say, Patrick, is I met you at Napa. You're a super smart guy. You're really sharp. I wouldn't worry too much about your competition, what they're going in there with. Just be yourself, and I think you'll sell plans right and left.
Thank you, Kyle.
I'll just quickly add too. I think the great irony, right, is most of our clients view us as investment advisors, and yet I would argue that it's probably one of the least biggest or least differentiators that we really do. I mean, Rodney, cover your ears for a second. The Sage Views and the Cap Trust will come in and talk about how many CFAs they have on staff. The reality is everybody's using basically the same two FI360 or RPAG screening methodologies, give or take maybe a little bit of fluctuation. So I actually view it as a opportunity for a smaller shop to be able to differentiate themselves without having to try to go up against the technology of a larger aggregator, because the reality is fairly straightforward screening process, assuming you're not throwing darts at a dartboard.
Yeah, it's funny when I'm actually selling it. We tell companies that the investment selection and monitoring is actually the most commoditized part of our business, because it really is. Everyone's got same access to the same software. We all get access to open architecture investments. So everyone can build the same investment line. There's no crystal ball telling you that this investment's going to perform better than the other over a long period of time. It's all the other items that we're bringing to the table, why they're going to select us as their advisor, not really the investments or RPAG or FI360 or so forth.
Yep.
What keeps me up at night is these big aggregators negotiating private label CITs directly with the fund managers that undercut what an independent advisor could ever offer. That's where again, that makes me really nervous. So that's one of the benefits of an RPAG is you have some of the collective leverage that you're able to use. But I know for a fact that, like the Cap Trusts of the world are actively trying to pursue those agreements. And that makes me very nervous as a small independent shop.
Though, like money managers, because we've run into this where it's like, oh my God, am I going to lose all my pricing like when I leave, right? Or, to do my own thing or whatever. Like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my Fidelity target dates at 8 bips. It's like, well, we can get you State Street for 5. Like the market, like money managers are in the business of getting money into their products, right? So like, there will always be opportunity to counter, right? I think that exists. I'm not trying to minimize that worry, Nate, because I think it's merited. But we've been able to address it just by looking to different partners and looking more broadly, right? Rather than focusing on deals that get made, especially in the indexing side. Like, I mean, there's always chat about it going down. But back to Patrick, and then for the sake of time, we've got a lot more people to get through, is I always think about the business owners too. Do you think they know what a CIT is? Do you really think that they want to open up that and explore the investments within it, or different indexing strategies? They don't care. Maybe you'll get someone who's geeky, and then they'll be annoying because they have their own philosophy and they're looking for someone to align with it. So I agree with some of the previous points I've heard. Nate, Kyle, you guys come to mind. It's like, it's about you, right? It's fees, funds, fiduciaries see a sameness. I think you can brush through that. But then if they can see that you're the type of person that they want to work with, and that's a big part of it. So I really do think, unless you're selling a plan to an investment company, those risks can, that topic is not as big a deal as you might think. But for the sake of time, we got 19 minutes to go. Who wants to
Hey,
go
Bill,
next?
I'll go next. I gotta go. Nate called me out. But no, I'd agree with Nate, even though I come from a more analytical background into the finance world. I've been at Sageview for 5.5 years, so I was there back when Randy owned it all, and have kind of seen the changes we went through. But Patrick, I think if I'm selling one-on-one, like if I'm finding a plan at a networking event or whatever, I'll talk about the investments, and I think that can make a difference. But if you're in a competitive situation, there's a lot of skilled people on this call. You got to think you're probably up against a couple of them. It's really hard to differentiate with investments. So that's where, you go elsewhere or try to make that connection with them. I think Kyle, you said that, like figure out what they want and then sell that. But yeah, Sageview 5.5 years. I came in as part of a larger group and then have been building out my book since. Probably play in the like 20 to 70 million space. I think my average plan's a little over 50. So I'd love to hear what some of you guys, Mason, you mentioned doing in the small market. I mean, that's the future. Like, I'm going to be doing this for another 20 years. So what am I missing out by not having that part of the market figured out? And then maybe I can help some of the smaller guys where you're walking into finals, because that's what I do all day long. So help you go into there. Where are we seeing success? I don't know. I don't have it figured out. I feel like I'm shooting with a shotgun every day, all day. Like payroll advisor, or payroll record keepers. I network with the DCIO people. I always take their calls, not necessarily because they're going to refer something in, but they're very, very well connected. ERISA attorneys are really, really good referral sources, but some of the hardest ones to build out because they're smart as heck and they can just see through a phony. And most of us are better salespeople than we are at getting in the weeds of the details. So you got to be really sharp to build those relationships. And then CPAs, no one loves on the CPAs, but I feel like for every 5 meetings that I take, maybe 1 turns into a good relationship, and then you get 1 or 2 referrals from them per year. Like it's a lot of work when you're in the larger market. Strategies, solutions. Maybe Nate, you touched on this, the non-qual plans. I love, love, love non-qual plans. Once you get a non-qual plan in, that client is never going to leave you. The HR person is never going to be able to fire you because the CFO will tell them to go kick rocks. Like you cement that relationship for life, and it is a huge, huge value add. So, yeah, I'd love to maybe, Bill, if you're well, I don't want to steamroll it, but if we could have a session on the small market, and I would love to hear how some of the people are being successful there. And then one other thing that came up with the referrals, if you guys are putting actual solicitation agreements in place, I would love to hear how you're doing that, because all the referrals that I do now are just, hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back. Like we are completely independent. There's no money exchanging hands anywhere. But I know a lot of people don't do that. And I think that there's a way that you can still be independent and set up those referral sources so that it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
I think there is a way to do that. I just don't know what it is.
I'm happy to break that down. We do that. People love getting money for referrals. I think we all do. So we can definitely do that. And then I would invite you, Rodney, to look at our video library. We usually send a recap. We did an hour on small market, and I love small market. I too think it's the future. So we can also revisit it as a future topic as well. But I'll make sure we get you that recording.
I can go ahead and go pretty quick here, and then we'll get over to Kevin. I saw you come off mute there. And Rodney, don't be too careful with those non-qual plans. I've snuck a few of those over the last 6 months, including 401ks with them. So don't get too comfortable on those. But Kyle Nelson, I work for IntelliSense. Started out my career in 2015 with IntelliSense. Used to be IT prior to that. Switched over. Loved the finance industry. Did that until about 2020, and then I got approached to lead a retirement plan division for a CPA shop out of Minneapolis. Jumped ship, went over to that, grew that from 900 million to 1.6 billion, and then they got bought out by Creative Planning last year, actually this time last year. So IntelliSense reached out, said, hey, do you want to come back? And it was a great fit for me to come back and do that. So when I moved back over to IntelliSense, obviously, I had to leave my $1.6 billion of assets at Creative, and of course my 100 clients over there. So, I'm just starting to rebuild my book now, and really I'm focusing on a couple different markets. So, I know the question just come up, at least for Rodney, was around like small plans. So I'm focusing a lot on that, like 2 million up to 50 million, and mostly because I feel like you can develop really strong relationships with those clients instead of just being a number. You get into the 100 millions and the $1 billion range, and I mean, at that point, you're a vendor at that point. So I really like diving into the small market. My wife's a dentist, so I'm focusing on the dental market, and then I'm also focusing on the governmental 457 plans. But I can tell you guys, if you're not in government yet, get in government, because it is a treasure trove of opportunity there. So if you guys aren't doing government, start looking at it. You're going to have to take your fiduciary hat off and get used to the fact you're not living within ERISA. it's the Wild West out there, but it's very, very profitable. So that's where a lot of my focus is right now, is on the government plans, the smaller, especially dentist plans. Then I've got a bunch of manufacturers too that I work with. Where we're seeing success is honestly on the private wealth transfer from retirement plans. So we've got about 4.4 billion in assets under advisement from the 401k side, but then we've got 2.2 billion and growing on the private wealth side. In fact, that's the fastest growing side of our business. And where we're successful in that is if you guys aren't doing pre-retirement meetings with any of your CFPs or any of your private wealth guys, get their butts out in front of your clients and have them start doing presentations, start building, rapport, building relationships, because that will be a feeder source for any of your private wealth stuff that you guys have opportunities on. The other thing that we're rolling out is we also have financial planning as an employee benefit, where we're starting to go into our clients now, and we're actually offering to do written financial plans for any participants that want it. But they've got to have either our 401k plans or our group insurance as clients, and then we'll go in there and we'll offer these for like $500. So it helps pay for the time of our CFPs, but then it'll eventually lead over to referrals into the private wealth side. So again, it's another opportunity to build up that side of your book. New strategies, things like that. So we are doing the financial planning as an employee benefit. We have basically what's called we call it our IntelliSteps. And what it is, it's like a front and back, one-page written financial plan that we can give to every employee of any company. All we need is basically a census file, and we can put together this program, this sheet that shows how much should you have in emergency savings, how much should you have in debts and things like that, how should you set up a budget. It's actually pretty fascinating stuff. We're getting a ton of traction on that when we bring it to clients. And sometimes we've actually brought that to non-clients and got our foot in the door just by doing that. And then that leads for opportunities on either the group insurance or the 401k side. So I've got a ton of tools, resources, experiences that if you guys ever want to, pick my brain, I'm happy to, be an open book on that. I've dealt with, my largest client was 500 million. My smallest client was, 200,000. So, I've got experience everywhere in between. So if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out anytime. That being said, we are an RPAG shop, so I hope to see all of you at the national conference. In fact, I think I'm speaking at it in September. So hopefully we'll see you guys out there.
All right, and to keep this moving, I'll go ahead and go. Hey guys, Kevin Major from One Digital. I'm based out of Frederick, Maryland, which isn't too far from the DC area. I've actually been incredibly fortunate how I got into this industry. I interned for Alex Astley right out when I was finishing up college. If you don't know Alex, he's a former president of NAPA, very well known in the industry, and started out as an investment analyst, did all of our vendor reviews, grew into a consultant, and then started to kind of hit like my ceiling. So Jania Stout recruited me to come to One Digital, and I've been part of that team since. And started out with nothing. Like I came in as a producer, didn't have any book of business, and for a little over the past 2 years, been building that out, and it's gone really well. A big differentiator that I've been focusing on is around that financial wellness and one-on-one advice sessions. That's always been part of our business. So kind of educating people on all the myriad of situations they deal with in their financial life, but also giving them access to one-on-one sessions with CFP advisors. We don't do a billable fee for that. That's actually just part of our service agreement. And like Kyle said, it turns into wealth management leads down the road. So it's been a very, very great experience at One Digital. I've done pretty well. I'm up to, I think it was 23 clients now. So that's going to continue growing. And then when it comes to new strategies, we're working on building out a national 403B PEP that's actually been built up from our team. It makes sense kind of like why we're doing it in this area, because being so close to DC, there's an immense amount of nonprofits. So it gives us an opportunity to prospect in our hometown, but also gives all of our other One Digital colleagues the ability to send any 403B plan to the PEP as well. So I think that's a really good opportunity to bring on some more clients here in the future. Now, I know there's other people to go, so I went through that quickly. If you got any questions, let me know, but otherwise I'm happy to pass it off.
Andrew, I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. Narwhal is still in the house, people. Luke, Andrew's the new Luke.
I am. Like, sorry about that. Like Bill was saying, I am taking over for Luke currently. I've been here with Noir for about a year now, and I think a lot of you guys already know Noir is an RA firm, and we mainly deal with private clients here. But I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we started to venture out in the 401k, and we currently have about, I think, 15 plans. So we're not really big, but one of our plans currently has about 90 million within that plan. So it is a large plan there. And we have a few other plans around about 5. Typically it's about 5 to 2 million within those other 14 or so plans. And I think my main thing here has been really focusing on education. My background really is in construction. So I'm very comfortable in the field, going out talking to guys one-on-one. And I think that's why I was brought in, is because I can focus on that education aspect of 401k, and really just being comfortable in the field with those guys. Trying to read what else we're supposed to talk about here. I think we're seeing a lot of success, I know, talking to the guys in the field, because we're able to bring some of those participants when they enter that later stages of their career, bring them on as private wealth clients. And I think my main challenges so far is really just learning what process we already have in place and trying to keep those processes going, and also maintaining those relationships with our current clients. I mean, I know we're not growing our business right now, but it is something I would love to pick up in the future. My main goal right now is just to maintain these current relationships that we have with these current clients. Most of our clients have came from referrals anyway, so it's not like we're out here cold calling people or doing any of that. It's really just been all referrals for us. So that's been a great part of our business here. And I think that's pretty much it, right? Anyone have any questions at all on that?
Not just a comment, man. Welcome. Thanks
Yeah,
for
appreciate it.
jumping in. And
Yeah,
you know, Luke kicked this thing off, so I'm happy that you know, you and Narwhal get to stay part of the group. But yeah, welcome and
definitely.
thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to learning a lot from you guys, man.
Well, I guess I can go next. So I'm Jack Moody. I'm also with One Digital. I'm look young, but I have 10 years in the industry. I started in the finance industry with Broadridge Matrix. You guys probably know that business. So I was an intern there through college, then went to Northwestern Mutual, sold insurance and death, and then decided that wasn't really my focus, and then went to be a wholesaler at American Trust, and then landed here at One Digital recently. So it's a little bit about my background, so a little different than some of y'all. Where I'm seeing some success early on, I have, you know, walking into now 6 clients. I just started in September. You know, it's been a lot of different, you know, cold calling strategies, LinkedIn strategies, but some cool, interesting ways that I've actually seen some pretty cool success. So my focus has been more about the startup to, it's called 25 million, maybe 30 million. Is literally partnering with a wholesaler. They got deep pockets, right? So they're willing to pay and say, instead of taking me to a football game or a, you know, some event, right, that they want to take you to. I've actually reached out to the buddies that are wholesalers of mine and just saying, hey, how about instead of doing that, why don't we focus on going to like a chamber of commerce, or find a city that's underserved. So Colorado, they have like the rule where they're going to be adding a 401k plan. So I've been going to different cities, finding businesses that are sponsoring events for like their town, and then getting those wholesalers to sponsor it. And then we have like little swag and gift cards, so that way I can talk to people about what we're doing as a sponsor in their town. Bringing that money into a smaller town, it actually helps those people like feel like you're a part of it. And then I've had good success with that. So I've gotten some good leads out of that. The other one that's really awkward that I just did, but it actually worked really well. Walk in with a gift basket. So I actually have a gift basket right here. Looks like this, a card in it. Just walk into a business with a gift basket and ask for the HR rep or like the CFO. That actually gave some really good success on that. You would think it wouldn't. Do a little 5,500 search beforehand, just walk in and say like, usually partner with your wholesaler if you want to have somebody else with you. Walk in and just say, hey, look, like I realize you guys are with ADP or whatever it is. You know, how are you guys doing with that? We'd love to try to take some of your administration expenses or education off of their plate. There might be a better solution for you. Do they have 10 minutes of their time? A lot of times they'll just give you a card or something and they reach out. I've actually had some great success on that. I did about 10 on Friday, and of the 10 I walked into, I got 8 leads out of it. So, you know, just trying different stuff. According to the wholesaler I did it with, they had a girl from Morgan Stanley walk into a $40 million plan, and she actually won the plan doing exactly that. So, you know, I'm not saying that there's a right wheel to it, but these are some strategies I'm trying. Again, I'm a newer advisor, so all of my stuff, I didn't inherit a book or anything. All my stuff is just being nimble and coming up with different solutions. So, and just like Kevin made his pitch, that's exactly the same pitch. I think it's just a national thing, how we pitch, but that's kind of what I've been doing. So hopefully that helps give some ideas to some folks.
What about the billboard?
I'm still working.
Thank you. I was hoping I'd hear a billboard update.
I'm still working with compliance to get me approved on that. So that's been a tougher move because, you know, it's One Digital as a big brand, but they're asking a lot of questions. So I'm working on it. I do want a billboard. I do want to put one up. And when I do get one, I'll send it up to you guys. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It's taking some process. You know, they're asking a lot of questions like, why would you want to do that? And I'm like, look, I'll pay for it. I'm just trying to look for leads. So we'll see if they'll let me.
I think it'll work. All right, Ryan, Devin.
All right, I'll be quick because I have to bounce here in a couple minutes. But myself and Devin's also on this call. We are the 2 founding partners of State and Walsh. So we're a firm based out of the Baltimore, Maryland area, mostly Mid-Atlantic focused. The short version is I started my career at a wirehouse, then transitioned to the insurance world. Spent a lot of my time working in private wealth, primarily with business owners, with exit and succession planning. And so had done a lot of creative strategy around that, done some executive carve out planning, never really was a retirement focused advisor for a period of years. We developed a niche during that time in construction. And so as a result of that, working with the executive C-suite and owners, we got a lot of questions about prevailing wage plans, Davis-Bacon. It started to come up more and more. And so Devin and I, when we formed our firm back in 2019, made a conscious effort to really become experts and to really narrow down to that niche specifically. So that's the fastest growing part of our business. Our typical plan size is not large. I mean, it's probably 150 to 200 employees, but you know, these are blue collar workers, so not heavy contributions to the plans. Our average plan size is like right around 4 million. So we're growing with a lot of volume right now in a small plan marketplace. And we've gotten a lot of our business from that, and our success has been through associations. So we have relationships with Association of Builders and Contractors, both locally and nationally. They actually had us down to their national conference in March to exhibit and to speak on the topic of employee financial wellness and how that ties into the 401k space. So that's been a huge driver of growth for our practice, is just national brand recognition. You know, our biggest competition in that space are these, I would call, national product providers, like a Contractors Plan or Future Plan bought a company called Beneco several years ago. So those are kind of our competition, and there's not a lot of local boots on the ground firms that are marketing specifically to that space. So we've had a lot of success with it. It's growing rapidly. Devin and I probably have meetings with 6 to 7 plan sponsors a month, and have had pretty good success even over the past 18 months. Our win rate on those plans is pretty high. I think primarily because we're approaching it a little differently. We're not packaging it as a product. I think as most do on this call, it's, we're providing a service and we're providing a level of expertise to those clients that they're not getting with these national providers. And so we've had a ton of success with that. We do get some referrals from benefits companies, but we've seen some of the same challenges with acquisitions and aggregators. So, we're pretty much mid-Atlantic focused, like we're Philly to DC primarily, but we now have clients and plans in, I think, 17 states around the country at this point. So it's growing on a national basis for us as well, which has been cool to see.
Well, guys, and Devin, I know you're part of Ryan's team, so unless you have you want to chime in, we're past the hour.
Covered it all.
It would have been good though, I think. Well, guys, really appreciate y'all. Tyler and I have a ton of topics, so we'll send a recap email. But let's go ahead and wrap and see y'all next month.
Sounds good. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. Thank y'all.